Right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the August 4th, 2025 Franklin Township Board of Supervisors Workshop Meeting to order, and I have it at 7:01 PM. In attendance, we have Vice Chair, I'm going to chair the meeting tonight, Donna D., Supervisors Dawn Dowling, Jim Johnston, and Betsy Agos. Also in attendance are Operation Manager Jeff Eastburn, and Melissa. And we have Control and Office Manager Melissa Ortega, who's online with us, and then Township Secretary Stacy Hollis. And there are how many people in the, what are we coming up with? 13?
15.
About 15? Okay, and the 15 members of the public. So can we start with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Remember to put your mics on. Raise allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'm going to start off with public comments. Remember, public comments may include any comments relating to tonight's agenda, and we have two items, that's PennDOT and Big Elk Creek Task Force. Commenters must state your name and whether you are a resident of the township or a non-resident taxpayer in the township. If you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be included in the official minutes. Do we have any public comments? Okay. All right, not seeing any, we'll move on. Okay, so we have Bruce Massey here from PennDOT, and he's going to talk to us about the Route 896 Road Improvement Project. Bruce, are you going to start off with maybe a small presentation or tell us something, or do you want to go right to questions? What's your plan?
Well, I mean, I can do a quick summary of the project. So the 896 Safety Improvement Project is approximately about 5 miles that are running from just north of Hess Mill Road in New London Township down to just south of Chambers Rock Road in London Britton Township. And that, of course, includes the entire length of 896 through Franklin Township. The project is primarily a safety improvement project and includes, there are some what we call vertical crests, you would refer to them as humps in the road, that we're going to shave down and allow better sight distance in those areas. There's one or two places where there's a horizontal curve that we're going to be correcting. And in all of those areas, we'll be doing what's known as full depth reconstruction because we're changing the grade of the road. We'll go all the way down to the ground, put a sub base in, and then the various layers of bituminous pavement that are needed. The key item and there's some minor also site improvements that are done at various intersections along the way. The key and major component to the safety is where there is now a four-way stop sign at the intersection of 841 and 896. There will be a roundabout that will be placed there for a continuous movement, but at a slow speed. So that's the scope of the project itself. It's anticipated that we would be heading out to bid for the contractors late this year, and we are anticipating a spring of next year commencement, with the entire duration lasting approximately 4 years. About a year and a half of that in the beginning will be utility relocations, and then about 2.5 years of the project itself. The project will be built in stages. There's 7 of them that are being identified, 6 of which will be doing the improvements in 6 different areas along 896, and the 7th one is a mill and overlay for the entire stretch of the road. With that, I wanted to actually turn the meeting over to Tom Lindsay to address one of the questions that folks have had in the past, and we wanted to kind of show you some examples, and that is specifically with regard to the potential treatment inside the roundabout. So Tom, if you could assuming you can share their screen. Jeff, is that something that Tom can do?
That he has been made a co-host. And just to make sure, Mr. Massey, I'm
Mhm.
sure you did, received all the questions that I'd sent you from the board, myself, and the
Yes.
public.
Yes.
So what I want to do, I want to make sure tonight, I see one or two people on from emergency services. I'd really like to see if they have any questions,
That's fine.
as well. So Tom, I'm going to try and enlarge your screen, but you are a co-host. So
Okay, can you hear me for starters?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, great.
And we see an image as well.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so the question we have gotten is about treatments for the center of the roundabout at 896 and 841. Knowing that the township is looking for a simple treatment for the center of the roundabout, and specifically had been requiring about like a brick color and texture. And so PennDOT can specify a stamped colored concrete for that center. And basically, I found a few examples here in Pennsylvania that can just kind of give you an idea of what that could look like. To start off by saying that our specification for this concrete is going to require the contractor to obtain the township's approval for the color and the pattern of the concrete that's going to be placed. And then the other thing here to remember as I show you these, there's not one that quite matches exactly what you would be looking at with the layout of the roundabout that we have in this location, because in most of these, the brick texture is actually on the truck apron. So this is actually the roundabout that's been constructed at Route 41 and 926. So basically you see the black is the vehicle travel lane. In this particular location, it's kind of a herringbone brick, but the brick pattern is actually on what we call the truck apron. And that's a portion of the roundabout that's used by large trucks to get through it. So normally your normal passenger cars or small trucks, you can make the move within the blacktop there, but a tractor trailer, a large truck, has to be able to go up over a portion of the curb in the center to actually get through a roundabout. It's the way it's designed. For ours, this truck apron is just going to be regular plain concrete. So, we weren't looking to do a stamped texture pattern there. Where the textured pattern would be then in the center, where in this particular roundabout, they have a little bit of kind of low-key landscaping and some gravel. We would be looking at doing something similar to the brick pattern and color in the center of the roundabout where you have this raised curb. This is a location that you don't want any cars to be in. There's no intention for anything to be driving there. So that there would be some contrast in that the center would be the textured stamped concrete. The truck apron would just be plain cement concrete, kind of that grayish tan color that you're used to seeing like a sidewalk. And then the actual travel lane will be blacktop, so it would be black. A couple other examples that are kind of showing the same but not the same thing. This is one that was done in Western Pennsylvania. Now, obviously, they have a fairly ornate center. We're not looking to do that. The township is not looking to do that. But this again shows kind of a brick stamped concrete. Now, it does show it in the center, which is the portion by the little brick wall here, but it also shows the truck apron being the textured concrete, which isn't the intent in our particular application. And then I think this one, which is also in Western Pennsylvania, probably shows closest to at least what we've heard from the township, as what you're looking for is really kind of a straight up brick pattern in red. But again, In this application, this is the truck apron that's stamped. We would be looking to do plain cement for that truck apron. This red brick pattern would then be the center. And it would actually kind of look similar to this one where in the center is just concrete with some signs in it that are required. But it would be relatively flat, little hump in the middle. But that would be the brick pattern and the red color. And then this outside apron would be the plain concrete. And then again, where the normal kind of vehicle travel lanes will be the blacktop. So those are just some examples of what you could get.
Thank you, Tom. Thank
yeah,
you, Tom. If I could mention one other thing before the questions. So in addition, what we have in our specifications is that the contractor needs to communicate with Franklin Township on the treatment of the center area. So Tom has given you examples, and it has been predominantly about a brick finish. It doesn't have to be a brick finish. It could be a different stamped pattern. It could be a different color. So whatever it is that the township would be most pleased with, that would just need to be communicated to the department, and then we can either include that in the specifications, or we can leave the specifications where it is right now, which is the coordination with the township is required with regard to that treatment. I just wanted to add that before the question. So you were saying.
I was just going to comment, since you have these pictures up here, we also asked about lighting. Did you have any,
Before we go there,
Mhm.
sticking with this, I have a question. Is the truck apron going to be raised with like a gradual curb like you've been seeing? So the truck
Yes.
apron will be raised and then the center will be raised again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then between the blacktop and the truck apron, because they're going to be similar color now, it's just going to be that yellow line?
Correct. There will be the yellow line there, and they will be. I mean, when it's first paved, I think there'll be a pretty sharp contrast between the truck apron and the pavement. Now, of course, as the pavement ages, it tends to get a little bit lighter in color.
And the contrast will be because the roadway will be bituminous concrete, which is
Right.
black, and the truck apron will be Portland cement concrete, which is white initially.
Yep. Sounds good. Yep.
Bob, I just have one question. I promise I'm not trying to start trouble. Can the truck apron and the center be the same color and stamped, or does it need to be different?
No, it can be the same.
I think it could be the same. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted the board to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to them.
Yep, that's correct. Okay, moving to the lighting question. To reiterate what has been shared at earlier meetings is that there is lighting that is required on the outside of the roundabout. The calculations that have been used indicate that by the time, because the further away you go from the lights, the intensity of the light fades. By the time that energy would encounter the homes, it would not be to a point where you'd actually notice them. That being said, like on the PA 41 project, we have, as part of the lighting setup, that's the lights that are used, they will have the ability for a shield to be placed, which would be between, the shield would be oriented between the home and any of the homes and the light itself. But because our calculations indicate that it shouldn't be a problem, we'll be erecting the lighting without the shield. However, if that is a problem, it is completely possible for the department to come in and insert those shields.
do you have any pictures of those lights, or are they, I don't know, are they? They look differently
Don't
or?
necessarily have pictures of the lights. I mean, actually, they did install lighting at 41 and 926. This is, I think if I go over here, the roundabout goes away. It does. Let's see. Got to get it back. Which is, it's a typical LED light fixture. And, from what we can see on Street View from May of 2025, that those shields have not been put on here. There will be 4 fixtures total around the roundabout, kind of realizing roundabouts don't have corners. It's kind of in the spaces between the intersecting legs, but there will be 4 light fixtures to illuminate the roundabout. But they would, they would look something like this. I know this is not the best, kind of looking up in the air on Google, but
Classic, I mean, that's normal, right? That's like the regular stuff.
yep, yeah, just a typical PennDOT LED street light.
Any questions?
I'm gonna go back to the roundabout, the apron again. Why, this is just out of curiosity, why do you flip flop? Why don't you just have one color pattern for Pennsylvania? Like if I was a truck driver and I drive on this one and it's red, the apron's red, then on the 841 or I'm sorry, then on the 896 one that you're doing, it's going to be white and red in the middle. Why wouldn't you just keep it the same standard for Pennsylvania? So I know when I see red, I can drive on it if I'm a truck driver. I don't know. It's just a question.
You have thoughts on that, Bruce?
Yeah, I actually do not know the answer to the question, but I do know that the department allows the possibility for a given locality to express desires in certain type of treatment. So that could be the answer to your question. Different localities want different treatments. But I don't officially know that answer.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to bring up something. It doesn't look like to me that there's very many houses close to that roundabout.
That is correct.
There are houses, well, there's one. There are 4, I mean, there's 3 houses right there, one on the corner, one on the other corner. I'm just thinking, can't you just put those shields up? If you're going to put them up anyway, if we ask you, why can't you just put them on in the beginning? Because I just think I'm worried about those lights causing trouble for those neighbors. That's just my opinion.
I hear what you're saying. And again, because our calculations indicate that there should not be a problem, it would just be an added expense to put them on initially. If the township very much would want that, I can go back and see if that can be accommodated as part and parcel of this project before it goes out to bid.
Yeah, I think, yes. Yes, we would.
I think the neighbors there would truly, because there are houses right close to that circle.
Okay. So that is a township desire, if I'm understanding correctly.
Anything else on this particular topic? Because I know we have other questions, but anything on how the roundabout's going to look? And I know we're not done yet, Bruce. You're saying we'll still get a chance to talk to the contractor and the lights we talked about.
We have, I don't want to rush the board, but
Okay.
we have one question about the roundabout from, I believe, Mr. and Mrs. Eller. So I'm not sure if they want to talk or if they want me to read the question. But I'll read the question, I guess. It says, and I state, I'm not sure how much input the township taxpayers have on finishes, but it would be helpful to keep the roadway very distinctly different from the other finishes, as well as having some taller landscaping in the center so people who are not paying attention do not go straight through the circle.
We don't want the landscaping, right?
No, and Miss Eller may not be aware of this. Whatever gets planted in the center, if there were to be something, if the board wanted something, then it would be up to the township to maintain it, cut it, and deal with it. So I don't know if that answers your question, or if you'd like to talk for a minute, Mr. or Mrs. Eller.
Hello, I think that this is Teresa. I think that answers my question. I'm just a little worried of people who, like I said, aren't paying attention. They're not seeing contrast in the roadway and they just keep going straight. So you'll also be ending up paying maintenance for people messing up this new roadway and the apron. Just a thought.
There's
Yeah,
there's
there will
gonna
be sign-
there's gonna be ample signage right in front. If you're heading straight into it, there's gonna be sign right in front of you, I believe. Bruce can,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good number of signs out there.
And isn't the center portion raised even higher than the truck?
Climb,
That
truck
side.
apron, yes.
It is, but the height of a curb. So, and actually, I think it may be mountable in the center too. At max, it's 6 inches.
And this is a question for either Bruce or Tom. I'm sorry. A quarter mile or a half a mile, whatever that measurement is before the roundabout, will there be signage that far out to alert people who's traveling on this road for the first or second time?
I don't recall off the top of my head how far away the first advanced signs are, but there is a roundabout ahead sign, for lack of a better phrase, that gets placed in advance of the roundabout, and then there are also signs in the center island to make sure you go in the right direction when you get there. So there is a good amount of signing that goes along with the roundabout
Yeah, and that isn't for the first or second time. Those signs are up there and they're
all the
permanent.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, any other roundabout questions? Oh.
Hey, Bruce, I'm Guy Donatelli. I'm the solicitor for the township, and we had some really positive communications months ago.
Yes, Guy.
I have a couple of questions. As far as the mechanics for getting the agreement executed,
Mhm.
what I would ask is that you get to me, please, a clean copy of that maintenance agreement. And then I will have my board consider it. I don't think there are any disputes. Once you do that, would we just approve it, sign it, send it back, and you'd run it through Commonwealth Office of General Counsel? How will that work?
Right. That is correct. However, it has to be signed by a specific person who's authorized by the board to do that. I sent you that information before, and I'll send it to you again. That's not a problem. And there has to be a resolution, an ordinance from the township with regard to that. If that's met, and yes, then all you have to do is sign it and send it back over to me, and then I send it up to PennDOT central office for review and execution. That's correct.
Okay, you mentioned a resolution and an ordinance. Which one am I to do both? Which one?
No,
would
no,
you-
no. A resolution
Okay,
will
that's what I
suffice.
thought. All right. And a question relating to the truck apron. Is the reason for keeping it unstamped for the integrity of the concrete? Because I would imagine it would get broken up more quickly through truck use and through perhaps the errant passenger vehicle.
Having it just as a solid Portland cement concrete area, yes, it would last longer that way.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go any further, I would just like to see if any of the board members have questions about anything regarding 896.
More questions, right? I thought didn't we give Bruce a whole list of questions?
I sent him everything from you, myself, and the residents, so he should be raring to go.
Yeah, because I saw one from Barbara Lambert, Lamprey,
And,
talk about, speed limits, control measures and enforcement plans.
yeah,
So I mean, is that where you want to go next? Go through the list of questions?
Well, we can, I was thinking that would be second, but I just wanted to see if the board had
You
any
had any specific, okay.
specific
Okay,
questions.
so, anybody? Okay, okay.
Bruce, do you want to go with, Barbara Mandage's questions, please?
Let me look
About
through my
speed,
list
yeah.
here.
Yes, she was more about recommended speed going through the, circle.
And Bruce, I had sent those to you, but I'm happy to read them for,
Could
Make-
you read that particular one, please?
okay, there's going to be two of them. I'm just picking the first one that I'm getting to. She says, under the Freedom of Information Act, I am requesting release of all hydrogeologic impact studies related to 896 corridor improvement project. So, I told Ms. Mandage that that's not something that we can produce. If it exists, they need to request it through PennDOT.
That's correct.
I don't know if there's anything in that you want to address.
No, you're correct, Jeff, that if it's a Freedom of Information request, it would need to be done from her to PennDOT itself.
All right, the second question, and this is a question, please itemize the specific measures in the plan designed to address the recommended speed at which traffic will travel through the proposed traffic circle at Route 896 and Route 841. Would PennDOT consider enhanced enforcement and lowering of the speed limits on Route 896 and 841?
So the speed limits on 896 and 841 are set traditionally by what is known as the 85th percentile of those that are traveling. Now, that being said, there are signs that indicate a reduced speed into and through the roundabout. That is done by signage. In addition, the roundabout, by its geometric nature, which puts a bit of a curve into each of the approaches. That's a fundamental difference between a roundabout and the traditional traffic circles that used to be all over New Jersey. The traffic circles in New Jersey came in at a 90-degree angle. Roundabout entrances are at an angle less than 90 degrees, and they also have curves in them to slow traffic down. So that's a geometric facet to it. And so the signage and the geometry is something that PennDOT can do. With regard to enforcement of speeds, that is not within PennDOT, and specifically not PennDOT's design or even construction's purview. That would be either the local police or the state police if there is no local police. The enforcement mechanism is through the police departments.
And Bruce, thank you for that answer, but I think the resident is specifically asking if PennDOT would consider lowering the posted speed limit signs. The posted speed limits, not so much from the enforcement end.
Tom, if I am correct, the proposed speed for this corridor is identical to the existing speed of the corridor. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Right. So the traffic operations unit took a look at how the road's used and what the parameters are for the speed, and concluded that the current one is what should remain. And therefore, the current speed of the roadway is speed limit in the existing condition is what it will be in the proposed condition when we're done.
And Tom, what is that? Is it 40 miles an hour? What is it?
It's actually 35 on one side of the roundabout and 40 on the other side. As Bruce was saying with the geometric design, the roundabout is designed for 20 miles an hour, and there will be advisory speed signs approaching the roundabout, showing a 20-mile-an-hour advisory speed. And that's like Bruce was saying with the geometry, it's kind of designed to force people to slow down to navigate it.
If my board doesn't have any questions, Bruce and Tom, I'd like to save mine to the end, but I would like to give the people from emergency services a chance to talk next. And obviously we want to hear from the residents. So anyone who has a question, if you can use the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen, then I know to call on you, please. So just to start off, I'm going to pick on Bob Hotchkiss of Medic 94. Do you have any questions, Bob, of PennDOT? All right, well, we will move to Eileen Parrish and Hunter or Brian Sachs of London Britton Township. So if you have anything, please speak up.
96 is shut down and detoured. I'm looking for what the time frame is for that, where the detours are, and what the access would be to the areas within the detour for emergency services.
Okay, so this is Mr. Hotchkiss.
Yes.
So are you specifically asking about the area that would be reconstructed around Chambers Rock Road?
Yes, I know from some of the previous meetings, and I don't know if things have changed, that there was going to be periods where 896 was completely detoured. And I'm, again, I don't know if that's changed through the as the planning has gone on, but there's discussions about forwarding traffic up Appleton Road or down Flint Hill Road with the 896 closure. What kind of access what time period would that? Is that a month thing? Is that a daytime? Is it a flagging issue? Or is that something for months or weeks where the access 896 would be inaccessible? And what would the access be for emergency services coming north and south or east and west to access houses and residences within that closed area?
Okay, from an emergency service perspective, I guess you'd be asking about more than just the Chambers Rock area. So as I had mentioned before, and we've talked in detail at these meetings in the past, so, and it appears that you have been participating in those, and I believe you were asking if there were any changes to that which we had talked about before, and the answer to that is no. The last time that we met with the board, we presented the final version of that, and that hasn't changed. And if you would like a copy of the traffic control plan, I can get that to you. So there's going to be 6 different areas that will be closed, not at the same time as we have envisioned it. They are 6 separate and distinct closures using local roads as detours in the duration. Each of them would be within the period of months. It wouldn't be weeks, it wouldn't be years. It would be periods of months. And then that detour would finish and it would move to the next one, and detour finish and move to the next one, detour finish and move to the next one. Clarification, or I should say a caveat to what I just said, is, as I mentioned, each time we've talked about detours and we've talked about the traffic control plan. Tom and his team developed the traffic control plan. It has been reviewed by PennDOT district office and tweaked, and you guys have looked at it and asked for different things, and we've tweaked it as well. That is the design unit's vision of how this project will get built. However, PennDOT does not dictate, unless it absolutely has to, it does not dictate how a contractor builds. They dictate what the contractor builds. That's in the plans and specifications, but they don't dictate how the contractor builds it. So if a contractor came in and said, okay, I see that you have 6 distinct areas that you are detouring. However, I can, and this is an example, I'm not saying it's going to happen, I'm just giving an example. I could have 2 crews and do the greater Hess Mill area and the greater Chambers Rock area at the same time. They're separated by like 4 miles. So I'd be fine with that. And I'd like to do that and shrink the duration of the construction schedule. Are you okay with that? So then he would modify the traffic control plan, submit it to the district's traffic operations unit. They would review it. And if it met all the criteria that it needs to, then they would approve that. So that's the only caveat I want to put on to what I said to you of what is sitting in the traffic control plan, which includes the detours. That is part of what the design unit is developing and will go to the contractors to bid on. Hopefully that all made sense.
Bruce, let me ask a follow-up question. Say you're working in Sector 3.
Right.
What happens if someone has a heart attack in Sector 3 and an ambulance or the fire company need to get to them? How
Okay.
does that happen?
So if it is on a section of 896 or 841 that is not detoured, obviously it would be, situation normal, and the emergency vehicles would handle it in that regard. If it is during construction, and if there were potentially something in the way, they could attempt to use whatever piece of road is still open to get to that individual's house. If it were after hours, they would use the detour, and or if the home were within the area that isn't detoured, they would use the existing road, because at all times, all properties need to have access maintained to them. Otherwise, we can't move the project forward. So hopefully that answers your question.
Bruce, I have one more and then we can go on to the other questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be a go-to person within PennDOT, the contracting firm, someone other than me, that if there is a problem in the middle of the night, they can pick up the phone and talk to an individual? Such and such house is on fire or exploded or whatever. God forbid something needs to be moved. Is there someone that can be on call or contact for Chester County Emergency Services in that circumstance?
Right. There is an individual who will be assigned to oversee the construction for the entire project. That individual will be part of the construction unit, whereas I am part of the design unit. When that individual is identified, we obviously will share that information with Franklin Township, New London, and London Britain. You asked in the middle of the night. Now that I have to double check on to see if that would be the correct person that the emergency services would contact. And I would have to see if there's, as it were, an after hours number that would be different than the construction unit contact. But during the regular business days, it would be the construction unit contact. I will make a note to see if there's a separate and distinct number for after hours. That I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the emergency services area, or Mr. Hotchkiss, do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I know Robbie Gazzello from West Grove's on. I think as the project, since it's going to be kind of a rolling project over 4 years, it's going to be important for us to have a point of contact with the contractor. And I'm assuming it's the same contractor for the whole project.
That's correct. It will be one contractor for the whole project.
As phases get started, to have ongoing meetings like, hey, we're down at Hess Mill. This is going to be your impact for Hess Mill. Okay, we're done Hess Mill. We're down at Chambers Rock. It's going to be real important for somebody to be a public safety liaison for West Grove Fire Company, Avondale, and for us to sit down on an ongoing basis and say, hey, you know, this is where we are for the next 3 months. This is going to be the impact, so we can pre-plan this stuff.
Yes.
896 is our primary route of travel for trauma patients and heart attacks, and our cardiac centers down that way, or stroke center. So going down that way, down 896 is one of the primary ways to go north-south. And this is going to have impact on us. And, you know, as roads get detoured, that's going to cause a traffic issue. And, you know, traveling in the, you know, 896 is a little bit easier to travel with the fire truck or an ambulance. As you start throwing the back roads, it gets a little more challenging, especially with traffic. So there's going to be a lot of pre-planning on the fire side and the EMS side as we go forward. So it would be very helpful if somebody in the contractor end is a point of contact to be almost, you know, ongoing meetings about here are things going to change, so we can pass on to our crews, so we can flex and go around these areas and still be able to access everybody and get down to the hospitals if needed.
Right. And also, I think you'll find of interest that within the specifications themselves, there is a provision where the contractor needs to give all the emergency services 30-day notice before starting a detour. So as you're saying, as one is ending and another one's starting, they have to pre-contact you and coordinate with you prior to that occurring.
And Bruce, one thing, this did not involve PennDOT. It did involve one of the utility companies, I will say that. I was out in the middle of the night in winter in the snow trying to get a hold of someone, and I could not get a hold of a competent individual. They were somewhere out in the Midwest states reading from a script. So I just want to make sure whoever this person is, they're able to do something or find
Understood.
out an answer. The other thing, someone handed me a slip of paper. I did ask the school district, the transportation department, to be here. I'm not sure if they are here or not. If they have any questions, I'd love them to ask them. But if they aren't, one thing I would just like to reiterate, Bob and Tom, please make the effort to be in contact with them. School is going to be starting soon, so I just don't want any surprises, please.
And I do know, Jeff, earlier on in the project, particularly when we were talking about the detours that affected Peacedale Road, I do know that the school district was involved in those conversations. But yes, yeah, they can continue to coordinate it with us.
And they are on I'll add that they are on the list of organizations that need to be notified 30 days in advance of those detours.
All right, what I'd like to do is, if my board doesn't mind, if anyone from Franklin Township has any questions, please use the raise your hand feature. I'll recognize you, and then we will go to the adjoining townships, which would be New London Township and London Britton Township. So is there anyone from Franklin online or in the room now that has any questions? There not seeming to be any.
I have one, Jeff.
Oh,
Just a quick one. Where will the general public be notified? Will it be on PennDOT site? Will it be on the township's websites when each phase is being worked on, and then when that phase will be finished? Like if we're in the middle of this and I want to see when the next phase is starting, so I know what is going to be closed next week, where will I look for that?
Okay, there's 3 places where I believe that information will be housed. One is that there are press releases that come out of the press office at District 6 that would indicate changes of that nature. There's several projects that the district is doing and those press releases happen all the time. The second one is I envision there will be a project-specific website for 896 on PennDOT's website, and that information would be housed there. And I don't see that there'd be a problem with providing that information to the township, and then you could post it on your own websites.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, one last call for Franklin Township residents. Is there anybody online or in the room with me? All right. Oh, Sarah Beth, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to clarify then that before construction affects an individual residence, will the individuals be notified?
No, it would be when one of the detours, if we were moving from one detour to another, that's when that information would be sent out. So if that given resident was within that detour, that would be the notification. Each individual resident will not be notified when various phases of construction are occurring.
But if I will add to that, if there are driveway impacts to a particular resident, the contractor will be coordinating that work. You won't just get up one morning and find that they bulldozed out your driveway and you can't get out.
That's very correct and an excellent point, Tom. Thank you for that clarification.
And Bruce, just to reiterate, I'm happy to pass along information to the residents. And no offense to your press office, many times they're very good, and other times we get notices the day before something happens.
Okay.
So anything that you can do, I am happy to pass and send along through township Facebook page and the township website. But I need the information from PennDOT to do that.
So noted.
Anybody else from Franklin? If there isn't, we're going to go to London Britton Township. All right, Eileen, it looks like you're on.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I just have a couple of quick things. Well, first to reiterate what you were saying, Jeff. All three townships I know would really appreciate having as much notice as possible from PennDOT so that we can communicate with our residents as best we are able to do. So we certainly, I'm sure that New London feels as we do, that with London Britton as well. It will be very helpful to us if our office could hear directly from you so that we can get that information out to our residents. Now, that's number one. This is sort of specific. Well, it's definitely specific to London Britton. And Bruce, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this. We have grants in place for flashers north and southbound in the area of Strickersville Road and South Bank Road, just north of Chambers Rock. They have not yet been installed. We have talked in the past about making sure they were on the plan. And we're getting really close now. We had to get 2 different grants. Is there going to be any kind of an issue about those flashers that we should be aware of other than what you and I have already discussed?
I had been hoping that those would be in place by the time the plans went out to the contracting community, but that moment is weeks away. So I don't think you're
Yes.
going to have them up and running at that point in
No,
time.
I don't think so. This has been a very slow process, I
Yeah.
have to say. So is there anything else we should be aware of? I can certainly talk with you, outside of this meeting, but I just wanted to mention it because we're still on target to do this. And we're hoping that that will be helpful to everybody along the corridor, but that's a particularly challenging area of 896,
Right.
especially with our Amish folks crossing the road there frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Let me have a conversation with the traffic operations unit concerning this and see if they've encountered something of this ilk before, when there's a facility that's anticipated to be there, but it's not there yet.
okay.
To see if that might, if there is some way to actually be able to deal with that in the construction documents. As you and I had talked, it would just be so much simpler if indeed
Yes, it would.
our process had taken so long that your process didn't take as long, and it would be up and running. But we're at the 11th hour and it's not. So yeah,
Yeah.
let me make a phone call and see what I can do.
Okay. I'll check back with you. The final thing, and this I think would also apply to all of us. We had discussions with Lieutenant Covert at the Avondale Barracks about what sort of support they could give all of us if detours are not followed properly. I know that folks in all three municipalities have concerns about some of the roads where these detours are proposed, and we've certainly all had discussions about that. And so one of the questions that we at London Britain had for the Avondale Barracks folks was, can you help us? Will you be able to enforce these detours if people are not using them and they're going where they shouldn't go, which is likely to happen. So I see a smile. So, it's unfortunate. I was thinking it would have been great if somebody from the barracks could have been here, but I didn't know if that is a conversation that PennDOT should be having directly with the state police, or if we municipalities need to do that.
It would not hurt if the municipalities were to reach out and ask the question of the barracks.
Yeah, well, we already have, and I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of you haven't also. But all right, I just think the more of us that bring that up, the better it will be.
Bruce, I've had conversations with Lieutenant Covert and Sergeant Jeter. So, it's not something that the townships can intervene and say, we want. They need to have direct conversations with PennDOT. So whether you pick up the phone or they pick up the phone, one of you need to. But I'm happy to attend to such a meeting and cheer it on that we need the state police's help.
Okay.
But it needs to come from PennDOT and talk with them. So whether we do it on Zoom, in person one afternoon, I'm willing to do what it takes.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying that, Jeff. Thanks very much. And that's all I have.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Sachs or Bruce or Hunter from London, Britain, do you have anything? All right, not doesn't seem to be any. So anyone from Franklin Township or any adjoining township, do you have any questions for PennDOT? Now's the time to ask, please. All right, Fred, you're on.
Fred, if you're talking, it looks like you're muted.
How about now?
Great. Thank you.
Okay. What started all this to begin with was when I was driving down 896 last week and discovered it was closed. So I called the township, and that's what my participation is here is about. The question is, all the signs that are up now, do they have anything to do with this project?
My understanding, well, first off, the answer is no. My understanding is that activity has to do with Aqua that is doing a project along the road. Jeff, is that your understanding as well?
It is, Bruce. And again, unfortunately, this last round, the township received the notice the day before when they were starting up again. So when we see these things, we do try and pump them out to the public. But they did one they milled one lane today. I'm guessing they're gonna mill the other lane tomorrow and then maybe start paving.
Okay, and how do we find out about these things in advance? Sounds like we don't.
Again, sir, sometimes we get advance warning from PennDOT and other times it's the day before. Unfortunately, this was one of those instances, it was the day before.
And just for clarification, this was not PennDOT.
Oh yeah, understand that. I do now.
Well, Aqua PA, but PennDOT did give the permit for the detour.
Okay. Well, I think that answers my question, and I had submitted others, but I believe they've all been covered, so I'm good.
Please, anyone from New London Township, anyone from Franklin Township?
Jeff, I'll jump in here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. It's not really a question for PennDOT. It's just kudos to Jeff Eastburn has done an excellent job of keeping me as the roadmaster of New London informed of all these different projects that are going on, and that's why I'm sitting here at home in front of the computer tonight. So thanks again, Jeff.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're very welcome. Anything from anyone else, please ask. All right, Sarah Beth, you're on again.
I believe in previous meetings, PennDOT has represented that this construction will be done during daylight hours. Is that still the case, or is the contractor able to change that?
It is anticipated that it will be done during daylight, but as I had indicated before with regard to the detours, with regard to construction activity, that is something that if they felt they needed to, which would most probably occur if indeed they were running behind schedule and they needed to catch up, they might request that. Because if you're doing if one is a contractor and one's doing work at night, there's a lot more expenses they have to do with lighting, etc. It's more difficult to construct at night. It's done, as everyone here knows. It has done. When it needs to get done, it gets done. That is not what is anticipated for this project, but you are correct. I cannot tell you that that is prohibited for this project, but it is not anticipated for this project.
Would you anticipate any Saturday or Sunday work, Bruce?
Tom, I'm not thinking of anything in particular with the project and specifically the detours that would require Saturday and Sunday, but am I incorrect that there might be some
There may
short-term closures that might be like a weekend here or a weekend there?
there will be something like that when the intersection of 896 and Appleton Road is reconstructed.
Okay.
To maintain traffic as much as possible, we're looking at like a more of a weekend thing. It won't be completely closed. We'll be maintaining certain movements where they may have to do some work over the weekend, but otherwise, like you said, typically contractors want to work in the daytime during the week because that's when it's most cost effective.
All right, it looks like we have Hunter from Lunnon Britton Township. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone. I just have a couple questions. Who's responsible for the road damage from the detour plans from this project?
So as part and parcel of the construction documents and the specifications, there are going to be videos made of the various and sundry detour routes before and after construction. And if there's any remediation that's needed, that would be something that the contractor would take care of.
All right, thank you. That was all I had.
I've got one or two more questions for Bruce, but I want to give the public an opportunity. Anyone from any township, do you have any questions of PennDOT? All right, Bruce, I'm sorry, but I've got a couple questions.
Go right ahead, Jeff.
I don't know if you remember from our last meeting. One of our residents had a question whether we should put up a guide rail along that sharp curve on Gypsy Hill Road. So I did work with the township engineer, and we had gone out. He just did not see that as something feasible to do. So we did talk about another option, and I kind of let you in on that question. So I don't know if you're prepared to answer it tonight or not. But if the township wanted to have 2 or 3 Pico lights put on existing poles during the detour time that you're using Gypsy Hill Road, would PennDOT pay for the monthly fee for those during the detour time?
So, as you know, Jeff, the work that PennDOT is proposing along Gypsy Hill Road is relatively minor. Further, we would concur with your township's evaluation with regard to the guide rail. So we would be in agreement with that. With regard to lighting at Gypsy Hill, that is not something that PennDOT sees as required with regard to the project. And Gypsy Hill, as you know, is a township road. If the township would want to put that lighting in, I don't see where PennDOT would stand in your way. We wouldn't. It's a township road, but that would not be something that would be reimbursed by this project.
Your issue is it's going to be used as a detour. So Bruce, that's our issue. It's not, we understand under normal circumstances, we wouldn't even be asking, right? It's the fact that there's going to be traffic that's going to be pushed that way because of the project. And to increase because of the additional volume, there's a suggestion by our engineer that we have lighting there. So I think that's what you're asking.
Correct. And what I'm asking for is if PennDOT would pay, if traffic's going to be on Gypsy Hill for a year, I'm making it up, maybe it's 6 months, would PennDOT pay the electric bill for those lights?
I believe the answer is no, but I will ask the question.
Okay. I'm going to wrap up, but this is just encouragement, Bruce, please. Either yourself or have someone reach out to the transportation department for the school district, please. The other thing I would ask is that you either call or talk with the state police. I'm happy to try and arrange such a meeting, but I would need you or Tom to be in attendance and be able to have a back and forth. So whether that's here or at the barracks, I would welcome a representative from New London Township and London Britton Township to be present as well. But I'm asking that you please do that.
Okay.
Have anything else? So, the board, any additional Bruce, I just want to thank both you and Tom for your continuing agreement to come and talk to us. I think you've done a fantastic job in terms of always coming and telling us what you know and answering our questions and just keeping us up to speed. I hope the people that take over next, I know your design, the people that actually do the work are as good as you are.
Well,
But
thank you.
we really do appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you.
And Bruce, it would go a long way for all the townships if the person who steps in your big shoes next could come to a meeting and talk or have an exchange for 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay. I'll pass that along.
Thanks again. Anything else, Jeff? We're good? All right, thank you. And thanks to everybody who participated, either from Franklin Township or from the other townships. We're in this one together, and it's going to be a fun 4 years. So let's keep talking. And I know Jeff does a fantastic job keeping us up to speed. So let's just keep it going. So thank you. All right, I'm going to close that down. Jeff, can I go to the next one?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, so we have one more item on our agenda, and then Tia is here to talk to us. So the Big Elk Creek Task Force, they had their a meeting where they presented the plan. This is after all the work that you guys have done as a task force. So if you could give us your update, we'd really appreciate it. I'll turn it over to you, Tia and Tia.
Okay, before I start with anything negative, I just want to frame this. Think about where we were in November of 2023 and what the plan looked like. It is vastly different now. It's vastly different. Way better. So we have gone from this huge monstrous campground and all this infrastructure and buildings and paving and everything to literally 2 buildings and some trails and some parking lots. I'm not saying that this is perfect, but I'm saying that from where we were to where we are now, I think we've won the battle. So DCNR intends to have 8 full-time and 7 seasonal staff members at Big Elk Creek. That would include the assistant park manager as a full-time position, which is already in place. Her name is Emma. They would want to hire 1 clerk. They want 4 maintenance staff. They currently have 2. They would have 1 law enforcement ranger, which they're currently in the process of filling, and 1 environmental educator, which they already also have. Then the 7 part-time seasonals would be 2 additional maintenance staff, 2 additional law enforcement rangers, and 3 additional park resource rangers. All of this to be here in the park, not necessarily White Clay. So it's a lot of people they're intending to bring over. I do have to say all the quote unquote improvements, i.e. buildings, are all in Franklin Township. So there's a visitor center / education center / bathroom all in one, including their offices. And then there's a maintenance shed, storage facility, barn, whatever they decide it to be. Unfortunately, the plans that they gave us are all conceptual, right? So they gave us these conceptual plans. That does not mean that that's what the building is going to look like. We don't have a clue what the buildings will look like. At this point, it's only 2 buildings. That's not to say that they can't change their mind somewhere along the line. They also plan to put in 6 parking lots. One of those 6 parking lots is actually the existing Spring Lawn parking lot, which is owned by Elk Township. These parking lots may or may not be permeable. They haven't decided yet, which causes concern for me as far as MS4, where the townships are concerned. So that's something that we're going to have to look into as they start to come forward with these plans. These parking lots will fit anywhere from 5 to 20 cars, depending on the usage needs. So that's something that will change as they decide how heavily each area is used. This plan does include trails that connect to Spring Lawn and Mount Olivet. Again, they're concept plans, but they do include a conceptual plan to reorient the south end of Mount Olivet to go around private property and reroute it into their meadows. When I brought up again that Spring Lawn and Mount Olivet are township trails and that we have requested and actually told them we did not want to be included in the plans, they said, yes, it's a negotiation that will have to happen later. So I'm not really sure what their plans are there, but just be aware that they have plans for Mount Olivet and Spring Lawn, and the Mount Olivet Sorry.
Okay.
Am I good?
Again,
All right.
go back to now.
Go back to Mount Olivet again? Okay. It is. So again, they have plans for Mount Olivet and Spring Lawn. It has been reiterated that they are township trails. They said they will negotiate with the townships. I'm not sure what that means because they are owned by the townships. And they do, in their plans, have a plan showing rerouting Mount Olivet to go around private property and into the meadows. They also have a parking lot that would be going, there's 6 parking lots total, 5 of which are not existing at this point. The one is, again, Spring Lawn, which is owned by Elk. The other 5, of those 5, I think 3 or 4 of them are in Franklin. One would be the existing parking lot where the sign is now for the park. And then there'd be, I do believe, 3 more within Franklin.
And see, would any of them help the Mount Olivet issue with parking?
They're talking about moving it.
Again, they're conceptual,
Okay.
but yes, there is.
I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm just wondering if they.
So it would be up above,
Right.
right? So if right here, I don't know how well you can see my screen, but here's Mount Olivet. The parking would be right here at the top. Yeah. So again, at this point, DCNR has no funding for these plans. Once the master plan is complete, so tomorrow night we have another meeting. It's technically supposed to be the same content as Thursday night's meeting. Again, I'm going tomorrow night as well, just to make sure that nothing changes and that I want to hear what other people have to say in the meeting. Once that is done, DCNR will finalize the master plan draft and send it to the task force, which will probably take a week or 2 before they send it out to us. Once the task force has it, we will review it and send back our notes. We have a 2-week clock on the review and getting the notes back to them. After that 2-week clock runs out, then they'll have another couple weeks to incorporate or not all of our comments. And at that point, they'll release it to the public. Their plan for releasing it to the public is a press release. It is not a public meeting. So we discussed that we thought perhaps a public meeting was necessary. And when a bunch of us made a stink about the public meeting, the president of the Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation, Marcy Mowry, she is, the PPFF is basically DCNR's nonprofit. They receive funding and help fund projects in the state park systems. She got on to agree that there needed to be a public meeting open to all Pennsylvanians. And it came across as a bit of a veiled threat that if we were to have this public meeting, they would make sure that they had enough people to flood the meeting to drown our voices. So
They still should have a public meeting. You don't do
I
this.
don't disagree with you. I'm just saying there are risks at this point to doing so. However, once that public master plan is out, the real design process will start, which the task force has absolutely nothing to do with. The real design project being designing the visitor center, education center, office space, designing the maintenance facilities, designing the trails, designing where the parking lots will go. All of that will be done without input from the task force. But they have to secure funding before they can even start that design process. So they won't be able to secure funding before 2026. Once they do that, they have their design process. After their design process, it's another 18 to 24 months of them getting permits, having environmental studies done, and all of that kind of stuff, and quote unquote consulting with the townships. So pushing this all out that way, I'm looking 2028 before they potentially break ground on anything, unless they magically get funding to help them do some trails. But I don't see any of the actual real buildings going up before 2028. I can't imagine that they'd be able to do that.
Tia, you use the word getting permits.
State-
Can you better define what that may or may not include?
They would need permits from the state, and they would need to have environmental impact studies done on the exact building sites. because there are sensitive plants and areas within the park that they will not be able to build on. So they have to have what's called a PennDOT report done by an environmental assessment. Of course, these are all done in-house. And then permits would be filed with the state for building. They don't necessarily, according to them, need to file for permits with the townships, nor do they need to follow any of the ordinance or zoning laws within the townships. They did say that they would quote unquote consult with the townships, but what that level of consultation is, I can't say. I will say that in the documents when Chester County gave DCNR funds for the purchase, there was a rider in that document that stated that DCNR needed to give the county 60 days notice before any state change of any kind, whether that's putting a trail in, whether it was taking it out of preserve status and into a state park. They have to give the county 60 days notice. They did not give the county 60 days notice when they decided to go from a preserve to a state park. But going forward, we're hoping that they will abide by those rules. It's been brought up repeatedly that they did not do it to begin with. If they do, then we will know at that 60-day mark what's coming down the pike in 2 months, because we have it in place that from whoever gets notified in the county, the commissioners get notified, and then the commissioners notify us. So we do have that in place. Whether DCNR follows that, we can't guarantee.
Did they discuss the bidding process for engaging contractors to do all this work?
They did not. That's outside the scope of the master planning process for the task force.
Okay, thank you.
So Antia, you mentioned they have lots of some staff's already on board. So what are they going to do with these staff for the next 3 or 4 years?
So these staff members are already being housed at White Clay Creek Preserve. And their educator floats from park to park, because you have to remember this is all under the umbrella of the Ridley Creek complex. So while Emma Menzel, who is our assistant park manager, is down here, she's out of the White Clay office. Our educator, Sarah Sato, she floats. So sometimes she's at Ridley Creek, sometimes she's at White Clay. It depends on where she has programs as to when she is at the various parks.
I'm just trying to understand the logic of hiring the staff before you have.
They've been hiring the staff, and at this
Before you
point,
design, you don't even have a design yet.
at this point, the staff is
It's just an excuse to get
for
more
White
people.
Clay Creek Preserve and Big Elk Creek. Whether it stays that way or they decide to hire additional staff for both parks, I don't know. At this point, everything is being shared with White Clay Creek Preserve. One thing that was completely left out of the master plan was the discussion of preserve, which the task force had at literally every single task force meeting. There was no mention of it. They had a slide about what the task force discussed and things that we've accomplished and all of that, and they didn't mention it at all. They also didn't mention that the majority of the task force signed a document stating that our recommendation is that the park become a preserve and get reverted back to a preserve. I will say, for the very first time, Senators Kane and Committa finally said that they were disappointed with DCNR that the plan did not include turning Big Elk Creek State Park back into a preserve. So they finally came out publicly and stated they wanted it to be a preserve. Senator Kane sat there in his Save Big Elk Creek t-shirt. So that's a good thing. That was a little win, because they've up till now not said anything one way or the other. DCNR did hire, it's called the 106 group, to complete a cultural resource master plan. That is, again, something that the task force will have nothing to do with. It is so basically it's a cultural resource plan to figure out the significant themes and usage of the park and the property. So they did say that local historical groups could potentially be stakeholders, but they haven't made a decision on that yet. Otherwise, they're bringing in this outside group to do research and to figure out exactly what the main theme for the cultural aspects of the park should be, whether it's, they threw a bunch out. Mason-Dixon, obviously, but freedom seekers, indigenous use, industrial revolution, ruins, maybe stabilizing the ruins, as far as the archaeological aspect of things go. So that's a whole nother group with a whole nother task that we will have nothing to do with. And so basically everything we have right now looks good on paper, but it's a whole lot of nothing, right? It's a whole lot of concept. They're feeding us this great idea, but that doesn't mean they have to stick to it. We did talk in a private meeting after the task force meeting about the fact that after tomorrow night and after our comments go in about the master plan, the task force is disbanded. DCNR kind of washes their hands of us and we're done. We're out of the loop. So one of the things that we talked about was potentially continuing, and whether we call it an oversight committee or an advisory committee, something where the townships continue to work together and continue to have meetings. They don't have to be incredibly frequently at this point, but continue to have meetings with representatives to go over what is happening, what we've heard, what we're seeing, basically what the task force was supposed to be before DCNR took it over. And I think it's important for us to continue that and to continue the efforts to work with each other, and keep each other informed. So I would encourage you guys to agree to form some sort of a, whatever you want to call it, to do this. And I would say,
And for you guys just to agree to keep on meeting, like the crew that,
oh yeah, we've all agreed before talking to the townships, but we need to make sure that we have someone's blessing somewhere to make us some sort of an official.
I don't know if you need a nod or whatever, but you definitely.
You've got our.
Yeah, so I do know that a lot of people that are already involved would like to continue to be involved. And it makes more sense to keep the people that are involved now going, because that way we don't have to bring anybody up to speed and we're all very much aware of how things are working.
The key is to stick as close as you can with the representatives, the commissioners,
Yes.
because they're the one, it always comes down to money.
It does.
And they're the ones that are going to be on top of finding where are they getting money? What's going on? But you're not giving up on preserve yet? Are you?
No, we're not giving up on preserve. So tomorrow night, Thursday night, we didn't know what we were getting, right? So Thursday night, we did bring up the fact that preserve was never mentioned. Representative Lawrence jumped right in on that, and we all agreed, this is a sticking point for us. So they did say that they would mention the fact that that was discussed in the write-up for the master plan when we get our draft to comment on. But they're not going to make a decision. I don't see them making a decision anytime soon. They haven't even decided if Big Elk Creek is going to continue being the name at this point. I have a feeling that's going to depend on this cultural resource master plan.
And Tia, when you say that the task force will have nothing to do with the cultural resource group, does that mean they're not allowing it, or is
They're not allowing it. Literally after tomorrow night's meeting and we give our comments on the master plan, DCNR is done with us. So I will say Senator Committa did ask about lighting for the park and wanted to make sure that any lighting that was put in place was dark sky compatible. And DCNR said, oh yes, we'll make sure of that. But my question is, if it's a day use only park, aside from some security lights, why do we need lights? I understand needing a security light over the maintenance facility or a security light over the visitor center. But aside from that, I want to make sure that they're not planning on putting lights in parking lots and things of that nature, because they shouldn't be there if it's day use only. We do want to make sure that DCNR understands that members of the task force, and it is a majority of the members of the task force, are not going to sign off and say that we agree with this plan and that we are supporting this master plan without knowing exactly what the real plans are. So we're going to make sure tomorrow night that that comes up and is on the record that we are not signing off on this. We're not going to sit there and be used and have them say, oh, well, the task force signed off on it. We want it on the record that we're not signing off on anything because we don't know what the real plans are. So that's pretty much, I think, where we're at this point. But again, I want to reiterate, as much as this sounds like craziness, at this point, we did good. We did really, really good. And I'm very proud of everyone because we stuck together, we worked really hard, and this plan is vastly different from where we started. And that should be something that everybody should be proud of.
It's just a matter of trust. You don't
It
trust these
is.
people as far as you can throw them, right? So you don't, if you knew that they would live by what's there and they would work with you on it, this is a good place to work from.
It is. But again, you're right. They've done nothing to build the trust that they wanted to build. They've done nothing to work on relations with the townships. If anything, they've been more, they've built more animosity between the townships and themselves. And the plans that they're putting on here with the trails just speak to that, right? We've specifically and repeatedly told them that we wanted no part of trail connectivity at this point and all of that. And they still continue to plan that. And not in any small way either, I might add. The plans to completely reroute Mount Olivet and to do all the things that they want to do is in direct opposition to what the townships, both Franklin and Elk, have asked of them.
And I just want to reiterate what Auntie is saying. I've asked multiple times to have Franklin Township removed from their site. The standard response I get is, we're working on it. That's it.
Well, and I did bring it up when I brought it up in the meeting. They basically looked at me and went, yes, Antia, we hear you. And they moved on and completely ignored me. So they know it's an issue. And the only thing I can think of is that they've conceded so much that this is one spot that they're going to stick on, trying to quote unquote win something.
Well, those two trails are.
And those two trails already exist.
Wow.
Right. And they've already done stuff with Elk, and it's been a problem. And I know Elk has received a lot of phone calls where they decide to hold programs or tree cleanup days or whatever in the park, and they advertise using the Spring Lawn parking lot without informing Elk Township. And Elk Township residents go to park and there's no place for them to park. And it's been a repeated problem over and over and over again that there's been no space in that parking lot for township residents because DCNR has taken it over. And there's a lack of respect as far as them, first of all, asking permission, and second of all, just being courteous and informing the townships of programs that are coming up that they're going to utilize specific areas. So I don't trust them. I think we're going to have to stay super, super vigilant, but I'm proud of what we did.
We are.
Congratulations, we're very
We are proud of you.
We thank you for all the effort too.
Thanks, guys.
Now, is there a park manager, or Emma's just the?
So the park manager is Alexis Rose. She is based out of the Ridley Creek complex. I know she goes by Lexi. She's very nice, but she's up in Ridley Creek. She's at Ridley Creek State Park. I think she comes down here maybe once a week, if that. Otherwise, Emma is the boots on the ground as far as the assistant park manager goes. She replaced Rob Campion.
Yeah. Okay.
So she's here. They are in the process of hiring a law enforcement ranger. So they would be the rangers that can carry guns and arrest people and do all of that. They're in the process of hiring one. Two, I guess, have quit recently. So they're trying to fill that position. And the other positions they'll be filling as they go forward and receive funding.
And who's the education person?
Sarah Sato. She's very nice. I've gone on hikes with her before and had long conversations, and she's reasonable. She's very sweet. She's good at what she does. But again, she's for all three parks at this point. So she bounces between Ridley and White Clay Preserve and Big Elk. And I don't know if it's going to continue being that way or if she's going to end up being down here more often. I don't know what they do up at Ridley Creek. But at this point, and from what I understand going forward, she would float between the three parks based on programming and field trips and things of that nature. The one thing they did discuss was buses. They had two plans that they presented. One puts all of the infrastructure, all the buildings right up against the road where the Crossan Farm used to be, where the parking lot is now. And if that was the plan going forward, they would put in a shoulder on Strickersville where they would have bus parking. The other plan pushes that down the hill behind the tree line where people wouldn't be able to see it from the road. However, pushing it back that way is more infrastructure as far as a roadway. They would have to have a huge turnabout for buses to turn around in, and you're getting down toward the wetlands and the more sensitive areas of the park. But they did show an image of the building being built into the side of a hill. So the upper level is flush with the front, the ground at the front, and then the bottom level is flush with the base of the hill, so that there would be entrances from both ends. It looked large in the concept plans, but again, it's just a concept and we don't know what it's actually going to look like. So.
Say.
No, we won't have any say about what it looks like. Again, the task force won't get to see that. It will be after they receive funding. They'll, I suppose, depending on how their funding goes, they'll either focus on trails or they'll focus on building. I'm not really sure what they're going to focus on. There is no infrastructure other than trails and parking lots going into Elk Township at this point. Not even a separate bathroom. So that's good. That's leaving more open space. It's not interrupting the wildlife corridor or anything like that. So that's a good thing. Yeah, if there's anything else you guys have questions about. Again, tomorrow, I'll go to the meeting tomorrow night, and then when we come back for your monthly supervisors meeting on the 20th, I think it is, I'll let you know how last night went, or tomorrow night goes, and where we end things. I'm hoping by then I will have a draft of the master plan in my hands with all the write-ups, because apparently they will be including task force members' comments in the master plan. So I'm hoping to have that. I may not have that, but if we're lucky and they actually move along, we might. So.
Are there items that you didn't get a chance to go over on Thursday for tomorrow night? Or is tomorrow night just like a wrap up?
So what happened was the meeting was divided into two because apparently they couldn't find a date that worked for all task force members. So some members went Thursday night virtually, and then the rest of the members, I assume, that are going to show up tomorrow night in person. Unfortunately, because tomorrow night is National Night Out, something like that with the state police. I know our elected officials will not be in attendance because they need to be at these other events throughout the area. But I will be there, and Eileen will be there. Senator Dinniman, former Senator Dinniman, is planning to be there as well. He's been very helpful throughout the process. So there will be voices there, and we do have things that we want to say now that we saw what they came up with. And we'll keep doing our best. But I just vastly different, guys, way different than mapping.
Keep pushing the preserve.
Yeah.
We are. And again, it was very helpful, even though it was like the 11th hour, to have Senators Kane and Committa finally come out and make the statement on the record that they were disappointed that it wasn't already declared a preserve. So I don't know whether that's going to help us at all, but at least it gives us, the option to show, hey, in print, here's the transcript. You said this. Now let's, work together.
And it seems like Committa came a long way to that.
Yeah, I honestly, the minute she said that, my mouth dropped. Like, I was not expecting it. I was very surprised by her stating that. And I kind of looked at other people and went, did she say what I think she said? And we were texting one another during the meeting going, she did say that, right? Everybody heard her. So that was good. And Kane sitting there with his Save Big Elk Creek t-shirt, he made sure he sat up tall so everybody could see it. So we're making, I think, as far as the politicians go, that was a big win too. Yep.
Well, whatever we have to do to keep you together, we'll be behind you.
Thank you. I think it'll be okay. I think we just need to, I'm going to think positive, and we're just going to be super vigilant, and I can get plans to you as I get them. And if there's issues, we can figure it out as we go. And if we need to go the court route, we need to go the court route. We'll figure things out. We've got a group of people that are willing to fight with us. So it's good.
Thanks again for all your work. We really appreciate it.
We're proud of you.
Thank you.
more areas. So now we have public comments, and this public comment can include any comments on anything the attendees may want to share. Once again, commenters must state their name and whether they are township residents or a taxpayer of the township. Do we have any public comments? Anyone who wants to say anything? Good. All right, so this is my favorite part of the day. This is yours, Jim. So I want to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at, what are we, we're at 8:30, 8:30, so I'll take it. 8:37, can I have a second? All right, Jim, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries 4-0. Great. Thanks for a good meeting. Thank you, everyone.